You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, and good morning and welcome, everyone, to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. I'm glad that you're with us this morning. Just getting everything up and ready for today's show, and should be a good one. It's a good one. It's full of a lot of news and a lot of content to cover, and so we want to get right into that. I want to make sure that our comments are working today. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM. A little bit of a glitchy beginning there because as every morning, there's so many things to do. And so I apologize for a little bit of the glitchiness at the beginning of the show. But for those joining us on the live stream video, you wouldn't know any different. So we are also streaming at cklu.ca. You can just click on the Radio Player Canada app and take us with you. If you download it, you can take us with you and listen to us anytime, anywhere on your favorite device. And we're also streaming live, as I mentioned, on facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. We've been around for a little over a year, I think May of 2022, in this incarnation and this carnation. I don't know if we were incarnated or not, but reincarnated out from the ashes of what used to be Sudbury News or Sudbury Sports Talk. Started in 2017, and thanks to my brother, I think I have to give him credit for giving me a little boost and saying, hey, let's do this thing. So I don't think if it wouldn't have really happened if it wasn't for him giving me a little bit of a kick. And then thanks to Zach, who began this rendition of the show in Sudbury News Talk right here in this last May, 2022, saying, well, yeah, let's get this thing on the road. You know, pandemic is over, and we can now resume the show and do it what it was meant to be, and that's news, weather, and sports all together. And so here we are. We've been doing it for over a year, and we've been growing, and a lot of people joining us. We've have a lot of great folks on the show each and every day in which we have conversations around the news, and it's our views on the news and lots to talk about in terms of how we feel about it. It's a great time to get together and just feel that our voices can somewhat be heard, at least with each other, while we have a public conversation, because we are publicly on the radio, and we're also streaming on two major platforms, social media platforms, and Facebook and YouTube at the moment, soon to be streaming on our website and Rumble, possibly as well as Facebook and YouTube, as long as they're, community standards and our format of our show kind of are compatible. And as long as that's possible, we'll broadcast out to as many platforms as we possibly can. We're strictly volunteer at the moment. We may have to figure out some kind of monetary plan at some point to pay for the expenses of the show. But as it is right now, it's just yours truly, and I really don't mind. It's a passion. It's something that I just felt there was a need in the community. And so here we are. And so I want to come back with all of your salutations and everything right after the weather. We'll jump right into the weather. We'll be back right after this, and we'll say good morning to all y'all. We'll dive right into the sports and the news of the day right after this. And as usual, Sudbury Weather is brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. whether you like the weather or whether you don't, we have the weather right here for you. And it looks like today most people should like it. It's 14 degrees. It's partly cloudy, although I see very few of those around. Today we can expect cloudy with 30% chance of showers early this morning. I can't see how that's possible, but I guess that's what it's saying here. Clearing this afternoon, and the high today will be 21, and your UV index is 7 or high. Tonight, clear. Wind will be just moderate, and low of 11 tonight. Saturday, sunny, high of 23, UV index 7 or very high. And so shaping up to be a really great Saturday. Sunday is up in the air because it's a 30% chance of showers, high of 27. Monday, 30% chance of showers, high of 24. Tuesday, 30% chance of showers, high of 26. Wednesday and Thursday, mix of sun and cloud, and both 28 degrees forecasted to be anyways. Here's a look at your forecast. Look at your satellite, and it's taken at 6 a.m. So rather recent picture of what it looks like over Northern Ontario. And yeah, you can see a lot of clearing here. So in for a couple nice days, at least, for sure. So get out, enjoy it. Fire ban's over. Maybe you want to have a fire with your friends and loved ones and enjoy the weekend. Get a barbecue out. And and just enjoy what is summer here in Sudbury. And that's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back with some sports, your comments and salutations for the morning, and the news headlines of the day, which there's a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack, as usual. So we'll get right to that right now. We'll be back right after this, after the sports. And Sudbury Sports brought to you by that Sudbury Sports guy, who's Randy Pascal, and his website, sudburysports.com. The Sudbury Wolves season tickets will be going on sale. And Marcus Foligno is here to tell us all about it. And we'll be back with two more news, sports-related stories right after this shout-out.
Hey, Wolves fans, it's Marcus Foligno from the Minnesota Wild. Season membership is on sale, so make sure you go get them and go support the Wolves. It was a lot of fun playing in front of you, and go Wolves, go all the best next season. Hey, Wolves fans, it's Marcus Foligno from the Minnesota Wild.
You gotta love it when it just automatically repeats like that. Very frustrating when you're doing a show, but I guess if you're at home, you might have missed something and you're just watching social media and they just kind of continuously repeat. I don't know who's a fan of those kinds of stories or the TikTok style thing where it just repeats and repeats. But Sudbury Dodgeballers win gold at Oshawa Tourney. So I believe it was the mixed team won gold, and then the men's team won silver, and the women's reached the semis. So it was a incredible weekend for them, winning gold. And so Sudbury fared very well out of quite a few teams. The next tourney will be in Toronto shortly. The Spartans are in action this Saturday in North Bay. They, regardless of the outcome of the game, will have a playoff berth, and I didn't realize that. I didn't think you could make the playoffs without winning a game in the season, but I guess you can in the league at this time. So no matter win or lose, they will be in the playoffs. So they're hoping to win to kind of give them a little bit of a momentum going into the playoffs. Anything can happen in the playoffs, but they'll be in action on Saturday in North Bay. We'll have the score for you on Monday's show. You don't have to wait for that. We'll share it before that on our Sudbury News Facebook page. And so you can catch it out there. Sudbury Star Sports, that's where this story is from. They cover sports very well. It's their own page if you want to follow it. Sudbury Star Sports. Just look for that on Facebook and you can follow that. We'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and much, much more right after this. Okay, so thanks for being with us this morning. Speaking of people that are with us, a lot of people commenting, which I really appreciate. That's what makes this show a conversation rather than just somebody speaking at you, which is basically any other kind of news format that we have locally anyways. You're just going to be told what the news is. You won't be able to have a say. And I guess that's the way news has been traditionally. But now that we have social media, why can't we just think outside the box and have a conversation about the news, right? What's wrong with that? As at the same time supporting all of our local journalists, the hard work they do, earning every bit of the dollars they make, informing us of what's going on and what's important to us in our cities, including CBC Sudbury, CTV Northern Ontario, Sudbury.com, and the Sudbury Star. All of which are struggling and in need of government money, which then makes it hard for us to have unbiased news, right? So we have to support them as much as possible so that way we can have unbiased news and understand the community not from a skewed lens that can't say anything about the people that they're getting the money from, and that kind of defeats the purpose of journalism. So we're here to support them. Monique, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Good morning, Sudbury. Vin, good morning, or morning is your tag salutation in the morning. Hope you're having a great Friday, which it is Friday. Good morning. Seek the truth. This is Belinda. Seek the truth, not what is comfortable. Seek the real, not the easy. Yes, I definitely, I'm with you on that one. I like to keep it real, like to be real. I like to sleep good at night, feeling that I've done, I've done a hard day's work and an honest day's work, being honest to myself and those around me, for sure. I'm with you on that one. Thanks for all the positive messages in the morning. Mona, good morning. Thanks for being with us. Great to see you on. And David, stay safe. And speaking of safe, hope you are recovering well there, and each day is a little better than the last. Keep us informed on your recovery, please. Morning, Denise. Another day to breathe, for sure. Yeah, you wake up in the morning, that's the first sign to be grateful that we got another day. I appreciate that. And there's David again for some reason, twice. Stay safe, for sure. And I appreciate that. At least the comments are working today, which is great. Look forward to like-minded views every month. Or every morning, sorry. That's my eyesight. I apologize for it. Keep up the great work. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And positive morning to you, Vin. We're going to be having that propaganda guy on the show again today. Only if we're lucky. Only if you're being good, Dave, then we can have him. Monique, good rising. Thanks for being with us. Much appreciated. Yes, good morning, Dave. And Belinda, loved the Sudbury Wolves boys. Great group of kids during the COVID era. We were not allowed in the arena, and we weren't vaccinated. That still stings, for sure. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that on a story we kind of glossed over yesterday. We'll be looking at more in detail of a unfortunate incident for a Sudbury resident. Speaking of that issue, was not able to get an organ. And do we agree with that or not? Or what does that say about our healthcare system? What does that say about the policies that we had the last 3 years, and some still have them. What does that say about our society? Kind of the questions we can ask ourselves. Yeah, Vin, and then the no cash sales still in place today. Oh, Sudbury Arena, you mean? There's no cash? Okay, I wasn't even aware of that. I guess you have to pay with your debit card. Well, we'll have a little story on that too, how, our economy will be, what we'll be able to be paying with, or it looks like the way we'll be doing business and paying for things in the future, if Amazon has anything to do with it, right? We'll talk a little bit about that. Michael, good morning. 11 minutes in. Well, better late than never. Dave, did you just say reporters from CBC were unbiased? Local reporters, if they're reporting on local things, sometimes it's kind of hard. If you're going down to mom and pop's bakery and you're doing a story on the apple pie that they have, I mean, kind of hard to be biased there, unless you like cherry pie. But yeah, local reporters, CBC Sudbury, even though they're not, when they're covering national stories or stories of larger issues, they definitely are biased. But when they're covering local stories, obviously they're residents of the city as well, and that's fine. Michael says, everyone's perspective is important to consider. Please be kind. Yes, exactly. Denise, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Denise. The application of genetic engineering or generate modified or even completely new forms of life. Oh, okay. Well, that's going to be huge if we're going to be talking about GMOs and things like that, which definitely are in our society and in our food. There's no doubt about it. I kind of like Europe's take on the GMOs. They just kick them all out. And food in Europe is just totally different than we have here, due to the fact that I think they want their citizens to be healthy. I'm not sure what we are thinking over here. Okay, so Garrett, yes, was a pioneer. Such a lovely man, taken too soon. His courage to stand up to tyranny will never be forgotten. God bless. Yes, we will talk about Garrett. Be a good chunk of the show, actually, because I'm sure we'll have all kinds of people talking about that today. Oh, my goodness. Yes, that is huge. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to research a little bit what you're talking about here, Denise, so I don't feel I'm even adequate right now. I'll go back over the comments and start doing a little bit of a deep dive into that. Keep cash alive. How much can you carry in your pocket? For sure. We're going into a cashless society. Really, that's where it's going. I mean, as much as you're going to fight it, as much as I want it, the powers that be have already made up their minds, and cashless is the way it's going to be. Okay, so you're talking about synthetic biology and things like that. So for sure, I'm going to have to look into that. No doubt about it. Okay. Thanks. Pauline, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I will see you shortly. So you're thinking the CBC locals should be funded because they aren't biased, unlike some local talk show? Yeah, I think Michael said we need to be nice here to each other. So I'm going to think that's a nice statement. But I hope you're having a good morning, Dave. And yes, I am biased, as you are as well. And all the people on this show are biased, including all the journalists in any media outlet are biased because they are people. You would hope, though, that their journalism, and if they are journalists and they're getting paid to do it, which I am not, I'm just facilitating a conversation about the news, which they are getting paid to report on. And you would hope that they would be less biased than, let's say, someone like me, who is not a journalist, who is a talk show host, who's facilitating a conversation about the news. And I am biased, and I always declare it. And I wish journalists would do the same. I wish they would come out and say, you know what, I've voted liberal my whole life, and now I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to give you a story, and then you would know that they were liberal, and that's the lens they were looking through, and they were trying to be unbiased. It's like what was it? I heard a reporter on the CBC the other day. They were talking about, he was from Ottawa. He was in the media group in Ottawa, talking about the port crisis, which I thought was over. Dave, you told me it was all over, but according to the CBC, it's not all over. And they asked the reporter in Ottawa, like, what's the current government doing about it? And they said, well, they don't really want to legislate back to work because that's something the Conservatives kind of do, and they kind of want the union vote because the unions normally vote for NDP, and they kind of want that vote because they're all on the left and they know they can probably get it, so they want to be nice with unions. But the Conservatives would just go in there and legislate back to work. That's just all they would do, because that's what they do, because they're not, they know they're not going to get those votes, but they need to keep the economy going, and so they're doing their job. But the journalist was then asked, the other journalist, the one from Sudbury, asked the one from Ottawa, so what is Pierre Poilievre thinking about all this? What is he saying? And then the journalist right away, before he even said anything, laughed. So Pierre Poilievre. Oh, Pierre Poilievre. He's always complaining and blaming everything on Trudeau as usual. That's a journalist. And so I don't know, is that unbiased? You know, and he's always blaming Trudeau for everything. Like what? Like, what do you do if you're the opposition anyways? What would Trudeau do if Pierre Poilievre was in? What did Trudeau do when Harper was in? He blamed Harper for everything. So, I mean, the journalist doesn't know that. And then went on to give a bunch of excuses of why they couldn't solve the port crisis in BC. Well, there's only so many tools they have in the toolbox, and, you know, and we're hoping for the best and all this stuff. But that's a journalist. But I do my best. I'll do my best to kind of give, like I just did, like I explained what happened there. I'm kind of unpacking the idea of bias, saying that I do have a bias, and that's to find the truth. It doesn't have a party affiliation. I'm principle based, not party based. And if it's going to be good for the country, that's what I want. If that looks like it's biased in some way, then yeah, I have a bias that I want the country to be as good as it can. I want my city to be as good as it can possibly be. That's my bias. So I'm guilty. And I'm going to do my best to have a respectful conversation with people, including that don't share my views, which there are, and it comes up, and I welcome that, which other news outlets would not do in Canada. They don't have conversations. The CBC does not have a conservative representative come on and say the side. The liberal speaks for the other side. And that's what they do on CBC. Well, the conservatives are saying this. Oh, some conservatives think that. That's what they do on CBC, that I hear all the time. Good morning, Diane. I had to find your post again. Yeah. Good morning. Bon matin. You know what? It is what it is. Facebook is going to help us along. I mean, we'll just thank them for what they do, but they're definitely not bending over backwards to promote this show anyways. I don't think they're fans of people having conversations. Yes, we're all human. The people are the government. Yes. Tell the government that, though. I'm not sure they're aware that that's the way that it works. Okay, Vin, you got something here. It's going to take me a bit to read. Unfortunate reality of cashless. Oh, yes. So cashless society, it's all part of, what the architects of our society want. And it's obviously part of a more of a tracking system similar to what China has, where, you have a social credit score. And then if you don't go along with what the government says or their new moral laws or whatever, if you're not being a nice person according to them, then you don't have certain privileges. They're taking, like, bank accounts. The bank will call you or send you a letter and say, sorry, you've said some things on Facebook that aren't in line with our policies. You can't bank with us anymore. Things like that. It's easier to do when it's a cashless society. I guess if a person never votes for the party, but votes for what they think is best, person for the riding, then they aren't biased. I guess that's somewhat of that. for sure. I guess that falls in that category. Have you ever voted conservative, Dave, if you thought that was the best candidate? Just a question. Michael says that's to find the truth. Can't find the truth with a bias. Again, right? Yeah, bias. What is bias, and how much bias does someone have? Do you have a bias detector? Can you take a blood sample and find out your bias scale or where you're at? Again, we're all biased. I think if we're aware of what bias is, we educate ourselves and understand what it is, and then when we're listening to the news, we can kind of look for it, kind of like when a reporter laughs at the other side and then gives their opinion of what the other side is saying and kind of diminishes. It's kind of like this morning, CBC. They were talking about the new blockbuster weekend. We're going to have one of the biggest weekends at the box office with 2 movies coming out. One about the inventor of the nuclear bomb and the other about Barbie. And they were all over this. Oh, so good. The nuclear bomb. It's the inventor of it. The movie, they had a big interview with the director. They couldn't say enough about it. The host of the morning show is putting the 2 names of the movies together and saying that his son's going to be going out and watching it and watching the 2 movies. It's going to be such a great weekend. Meanwhile, when they talked about the movie that broke, that won for the box office, most people going to the show these past few weeks, they said it was linked to QAnon and you shouldn't go watch it. And you're just a Trump supporter if you go watch it. That's what was their review of that movie, which I went to see, I think, Wednesday night. And it was a great movie, Sound of Freedom. It wasn't linked to QAnon. It wasn't a conspiracy. It's about children being trafficked. And it's a revealing story about how today, slavery, we have more people in slavery today than we did when slavery was legal. And we talk so much about the past when slavery, obviously, we're paying for it and we're told we need to pay for slavery that happened, 100 years ago plus, and we're to blame and we need to pay for it now, and we're still paying for it, but yet we're closed-minded to the slavery that's going on right under our noses. And the unbiased CBC says it's just a conspiracy when they won't even review the movie. And they never even mentioned that it beat Indiana Jones and Mission Impossible. These are 2 big franchises of movies. You would think that's big news if you're unbiased. That's big news. Even an independent film beat Mission Impossible and the new Indiana Jones. Just think if I was to say that before all this controversy came out. I don't even know what the controversy is. CBC's and the mainstream media kind of created a controversy, not sure why. It's about children being sold to people for slaves, whether it's for sex or other things. That's something everyone should be concerned about if you don't have a bias. I would think. And my video got taken off of YouTube because of that, because I just shared an interview with the main actor of that movie. So if someone doesn't like the idea that we're talking about this, and I'm not sure why, again, is that bias for me to just bring up what I just did and wonder why, what's going on? And it's something I think we all should be concerned about. Do I have some kind of agenda for saying these things? Okay, so let's get right in here. I'll share the comments of everyone. And because we won't have a show if I don't. We just won't even get into any of the things we're going to talk about if we just go off of what Dave started about sharing propaganda, I guess you can say. I'm not sure where he gets that from, but Anne Marie, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being with us. Get everybody's comments up here, and there's a lot of them. So thank you. Keep the comments coming. It does create a challenge for me, especially if I can't even get to the stories that we're supposed to be talking about, right? So I want to dive right in. I know you guys are having a conversation here on Facebook, and I would encourage anyone listening on the radio that, yes, people are passionate about what we're talking about. And so you might want to catch the show afterwards. We're on Facebook, and YouTube. So far, so good. So if you want to catch the show after it's live, you can go there and catch it. Claire, good morning. Thanks for being with us. And yeah. So here we go. Styrofoam fragments in Sudbury neighborhood. So this is a new Sudbury. They're building that new building right by the, Boston Pizza, right around 2nd Avenue where they did the construction recently beside the Comfort Inn. And I guess a lot of people are complaining about the styrofoam that's blowing all over the place like snow. Good morning, Brian. Thanks for being with us. And if you live in Minnow Lake, you probably know all about that stuff. And you're wondering why you have styrofoam flying all over in your yard. Well, that's because of the construction there. Sudbury man refused kidney transplant due to vaccination status. He has died, says a report. So the Sudbury Star picked up on the Western Standard story that we shared yesterday, and that was shared by a listener and a viewer as well in the comments before I even got to that part of the show yesterday. So there was a few people in Sudbury who were aware of this. So Sudbury Star got a hold of this story and at least shared it. They never got firsthand. They're doing the story based on the reporter who did the story that was published in the Western Standard, independent journalist. The reporter goes by. That's their handle. And we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into that particular situation and ask ourselves, should this particular person have died? Could there have been something else that could have happened with his situation to keep him alive? And again, the question is what we were doing to prevent the very thing we were afraid of. Did it cause more harm than it did good? In this case, this person died because they were unvaccinated. So if they would have been vaccinated, then they would have got the transplant. But because they weren't, they died. And what were they worried about him getting a vaccination for? Dying. Well, now he's dead. So that isn't helping him at all. So in this particular one case, if we're talking about the starfish story, his case, that particular solution to that problem meant his demise. So I wonder if he's the only one or there's more people like him, but we're going to come back. We're going to circle back, like Jan Psaki says. Okay, here's our sports stories. We're just going to go by those. Road repair company in dispute with Sudbury staff. Here's a Sudbury story for the ages. It says a lot about Sudbury. If you're ever thinking of moving here, when I was with the CFIB, Canadian Federation of Independent Business, I know we had a lot about Sudbury being a very, so when I was with the CFIB, we would interview and do surveys of businesses, small and medium-sized businesses. And we would ask them, okay, how hard is it to do business in your city? Get a feel for how it was for them. What things we were a lobby group for them. So what are things that you think are important that we need to stand up for? Well, in Sudbury, the businesses would say this is a very hard city to do business in. And so it was ranked one of the hardest cities, if not the hardest city to do business in Canada, according to businesses. Like the regulations, getting permits, just getting anything done in the city. And so with that, here's the latest. It's with this paving company here. CTV has it, and we'll be back right after this.
The asphalt controversy continues in Sudbury over a major resurfacing and paving project. A Southern Ontario-based company began working using recycled asphalt, but then had the job halted by the city while some quality testing was performed. Now, though, the company says it can't wait around. It's backing up and leaving town. More from CTV's Alana Everson.
Officials with Road Surface Recycling say they are packing up their equipment and headed back to Southern Ontario. The company says a work stoppage was put in place last week by the city, one of several put on the project.
The city of Sudbury wants to do some additional testing that's going to take 4 weeks. They gave us an out to leave, and they would pay for our remobilization when we come back, if we come back. And we can't sit here and wait for 4 weeks. There's just too much lost opportunity. We have other contracts to attend to.
Earlier this week, the city's engineering department confirmed the delay is due to quality assurance testing to ensure the material meets specifications.
In order to test the quality of the product itself, like the quality of the asphalt cement within the product, that takes some time, and it's unusual because this is a new project for the city. So we're just waiting for those test results to come in, and then we'll action from there.
The company says 100 core samples are being taken by the city along the section of the Kingsway where work has been completed, and it calls that excessive.
I would say that there isn't a contractor in this industry that has ever been shut down like this so that additional testing could be done above and beyond what the contract calls for.
Officials with Road Surface Recycling say their equipment and crew is now headed to a job in Perth, Ontario, to fulfill a contract with the Ministry of Transportation. Alan Everson, CTV News, Sudbury.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, there's not much more to be said about that, but I'm obviously going to say more about it. It's just, that's really Sudbury-ish to do that. How many, okay, what do, as Sudburyans, what do we talk about the most that we kind of have a problem with our city? If you were to talk about, things that we don't like about Sudbury, which we like a lot of things about it, the main topic that comes up in every election is the same too. Roads, potholes. How do you think we have such bad roads and such potholes over the years? Like, what do you think? Like, why do we have such bad roads? We were told, it's because of the big trucks, it's because of the temperature and the frost and all that. And then experts come out and say, no, it's not because of that. It's because of the quality of the construction and the quality of the materials being used. For years. Now you have this company coming in. They're going to save the city money. They're taking the existing asphalt and they on the spot, it takes it up, it mulches it, it heats it up, and then it puts it back down all in one shot, and then it paves over it so that way it saves money. There's less materials being used, better for the environment. And it just makes a lot of sense. But look what Sudbury does. We go, no, we have to do a quality test on this asphalt. More than usual. And the guy said he's never seen this in any other city. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Of course you haven't seen it in any other city because this isn't any other city. This is Sudbury. We do things like that here. Because we're the most socialist city in the most socialist, almost, BC's giving us a run for our money, province in a socialist country. And we do things like that here. We think like bureaucracy, government, but then with that, friends get contracts and things, nefarious things go on behind the scenes because you don't have transparency. Because we do things in a more socialist manner, which is give everything to the government. Government has the answers for everything. You get all your money from the government. They make all the decisions, less about small business and about the individuals. And eventually you have all these regulations and bylaws and they don't make any sense. And people, they just put in their time. They go do their job. They're social climbers they're just getting to their pensions, and it's a bunch of government workers. We have more labor paid per percentage of our expenses out of any other city in Canada, pretty much. 60% goes to labor. And we talked about that on the show before. So it's not positive anyways. Things don't get done correctly. And you can see the results from that when you're driving on the roads. And I'm wondering who's planning all the construction too. It seems like construction is going on in every major artery. Like if you want to take a shortcut around construction now, you can't because someone else is doing construction on the other way that you're going to take around the construction they're doing somewhere else. It's like, couldn't you plan that a little bit better? Don't you think people need to get around the city? Aren't you thinking of things like that? I don't know. It's kind of crazy. But anyways, that's the story. And this company has to leave. And then they said, they promised. So it wasn't even part of the contract that they were going to do this quality assurance. It's not a part of the contract. They're going above and beyond for some reason. It's come out of the blue. And then they said they'll pay all their expenses to come back. So not only are they not doing it right now, Sudbury is going to be on the hook to pay all their expenses for them being off and then coming back and setting up again. So it's going to cost us more money. That was smart. Wow, there's a lot of smart decisions being made with the city. So anyways, it's I think we need an audit. We need an audit in the city. Anyone who doesn't think we need an audit, I'd have to ask why you would think we don't need an audit in the city. Sudbury police say that for 20 years, suspect left jars containing child porn near Vermilion Lake. Greater Sudbury police said Thursday they cracked a 23-year-old mystery of who was leaving jars containing handwritten child porn in the Vermilion Lake area. I wonder if that's a conspiracy. Anyways, it's in mainstream news, and this particular gentleman is how old? 80-some years old. When you read the article. If you want more on that, you could read that story. We shared it. It's from Northern Ontario, CTV News. Monique says people are just going crazy. Yeah, for sure. So a little bit more on the what we talked about, cashless society. Here you go. Wave your hands. Amazon will let you pay with a wave at all Whole Foods stores. So this is the future. I'll just enlarge this for you. This is what's coming your way. It's not a conspiracy theory. It is what it is. So you just go in, your palm print. You know how you have your thumb recognition, fingerprint recognition, or facial recognition for your phone? Well, what do you think that was for? That was to develop the software so that way something like this could then come out. So all those people are like, oh, it doesn't really matter. I'm using my thumbprint or I'm using my facial recognition. Oh, it's so convenient. Well, that just went into helping them develop this technology, which now you can go to a store, put your palm over a device that reads your palm, and I wonder if it can tell your future too at the same time, do like a palm reading along with buy your food. But anyways, so it will then just take it out of your bank account like a debit card. What do you need a debit card for? And they can be stolen and all this stuff. Why not just have your own unique fingerprint or palm print be your debit card, right? And so, one thinks about, the book of Revelations, let's say, where no man, meaning man or woman, just people kind, no people kind will be able to buy or sell unless they have this mark. You've heard of it before, like a mark of the beast type of thing. Not type of thing, that's what it's called. And you'll have a mark in your right hand or in your forehead, and no man can buy or sell unless they have this. So, before in history, people would have all kind of speculation of what that meant, but today we can kind of see where that actually can take place. Before, it was all speculation, right? And so you'd have to ask yourself, is that something someone 2,000 plus years ago saw in our future kind of thing and warned us about for some reason? Who knows? Inquiring minds want to know. I'm just asking. I'm not saying anything. I'm just wondering. So could that be part of it? What happens if you don't want to go down that road? You can't buy or sell anything. It's like you can't get an organ if you don't get the vaccine, right? You won't. Yeah, it's fine. You don't want to play ball. You can't buy food in the grocery store. All right, here's this goes along with here. So the in I guess in light of the whole Bud Light controversy, they've released a new beverage called Gay Water. A new canned cocktail wants to be the anti-Bud Light. Launching Thursday is a brightly colored canned vodka and soda beverage that proudly displays who it's for, instead of backing off from support of the LGBTQ2S+ community, as other companies have done in recent months. Gay Water. That's the newest carbonated beverage coming to a retailer near you. And along with that, you have the True North News is reporting that as of July 1st, federal government workers and their families will be entitled to up to $75,000 in reimbursement for quote unquote gender affirming procedures. So, those who are government workers, which mean workers that you are paying for. So you are now paying $75,000 per government worker for gender affirming procedures. I'm sure everyone's excited for that. And now to our main story. Ontario man dies after being denied kidney transplant for being unvaccinated. So that was from the Western Standard, right? And I saw that story and I shared it right away just on that headline alone, because I thought that's something we need to be talking about here. I think we handle health-related issues in certain ways, right? And are they right always? Are we handling these things in a correct way? Are they for the good of the people? And so then I found out, wait a minute, I opened the story and it said he was from Sudbury. Holy cow. Why didn't any of our local journalists pick up on this story? And then yesterday, kudos to Sudbury Star, they published the story. So that was great. Sudbury man refused kidney transplant due to vaccination status, dies. Garnet Harper, 35, leaves behind a wife and 5 children. So 5 children. Yeah, Western Standard probably is London. Excuse me. Reports say a Sudbury man has died of kidney disease after he could not get a kidney transplant because he refused to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Even by me saying that on the show, just to let everyone know how social media works. A lot of social media shows and things, they can't even say that. They'll go, because the algorithms pick up the fact that I said that word, flags it, and then they have to look at this. And because I'm even talking about it, just by the algorithm, I'm deemed misinformation. And that's the world we live in today. You can't have a conversation about something. The algorithms, it's like thought crimes. Oh, he's probably saying something nefarious about it, and we have to take it down. Right? But I'm not going to give into that. I'm just going to be real, be myself. I'm reading an article. Oh, well, if I get taken down, I get taken down. What, am I going to lose money that I'm not getting? So I'm not worried about that. I just want to talk about the story. Okay, a report by Monique Leal, an independent journalism. I love that name. See, I always thought the shoe company was a great name for a business because what do you sell? You don't have to guess. Shoe company. You're going to buy some shoes there. And this particular independent journalist calls herself independent journalism. So that's why I called this Sudbury News. We're going to be talking about Sudbury News. Call it Sudbury News. That's what it is. Although some people thought the name wasn't, indicative of what we actually do here. But we talk about Sudbury News. So that's what the name of this is. And it was repeated by the Western Standard. And it said that Garnet Harper was diagnosed with stage 5 kidney disease on February 2022, also known as end-stage renal disease. His organs were close to failure. Through routine blood work, Harper discovered his kidney function was only at 8%, meaning his kidney had already failed. His only option was to receive a kidney transplant. Leal wrote that a doctor suggested to Harper that he should get a COVID-19 vaccine to protect himself from getting the virus and getting sick. Harper, however, said he did not want to reveal his vaccination status. Harper's wife, Megan, told Leal that her husband was later referred to a London hospital for a possible transplant. He was considered a good candidate for a transplant due to his young age of 35. We were told that we wouldn't have a referral to that hospital if he was not vaccinated, unfortunately. So they said we wouldn't even begin the process. We couldn't even start to be considered to get onto the transplant list. Don't you think this is ironic in some ways? Why did they want him to get it? Right? Well, to make money, right? For the pharmaceutical companies and to make sure that the federal government can have one more checklist of another person that got it, right? Oh, no, obviously it's to save him, protect him. That's why he needs it, to keep him safe, to keep him healthy, right? That's why he needed to take that vaccine. But yet, because he didn't, they're not going to give him a transplant. Harper's family received similar responses when they contacted other hospitals in Ontario, said the report. Megan said her husband tried to heal himself naturally. What other way could he? The hospitals weren't helping him. His tax dollars pay for the hospitals, but they're not going to help him. And thought he was making progress, but he died from a bleeding stroke on May 22nd from a lifetime of diabetes. We should have never had to wait this long to even get on the list or to be considered for a referral, Megan told Leo. Megan is Garnett's wife. We should have been able to have a referral last year. If we were able to get on the list before he was admitted to the hospital last September, then he would have been strong enough to receive that transplant, but was denied that right. They denied us that ability, and they denied us the ability to even explore a live donor opportunity, which his two brothers were standing there willing to give him a kidney. He was still pushing for that. He was fighting for it up until the last moment. Here's a picture of him here. Looks like a fine young man, local business owner. After Harper was placed on life support, Megan got a call from the Trillium program asking about an organ donation, which, rightfully so, angered her. So she's sitting there with her husband. He's dying on life support. And she gets a call saying, hey, we're very sorry to hear that your husband has passed away. We're very empathetic, but can we have his organs for people that need them, please? Because they'll go to a good cause and all this. And she's like, are you kidding me? My husband's dying because he didn't get an organ transplant because he's unvaccinated. And yet now you want his organs to give to someone else? So he's not good enough to give, even if it was from his brother. You're not taking it from anyone else other than family. He's not good enough to get the surgery. But someone else is okay to take an unvaccinated person's organ. Right? So anyone see any problems with that at all? I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Okay, so while he's placed on life support, she gets this call. They call you while you're sitting next to your dying loved one and ask if they can have his organs. Meanwhile, he wasn't good enough to receive organs from them. I can't describe the feeling. Obviously, you can't describe the feeling. It's, wow. It makes me sick to my stomach. That's what she said. An account at the Give, Send, Go website created to support Harper's family said he had also suffered a botched surgery that landed him with a staph infection. So not only is he denied this, he finally gets a surgery. And then he gets a staph infection. After that, he was never the same. His health quickly deteriorated and he became septic, which in turn caused a serious heart problem, a collapsed lung, a temporary paralysis. He was told he was no longer a transplant candidate due to his poor health that was caused from a botched surgery. It's just so indicative of our healthcare system. It's crazy. As you can tell, I'm just not a fan of our healthcare system. I just don't think it's anyone who's had to participate in it. A lot of people share the same view. I'm not the only one. Reasons for it, I'm not sure. I'm not a fan of socialist healthcare. Just not. I think you just need to pay. If you need it, you pay for it. If you don't need it, you don't. Well, what about those who can't afford it? Well, there's something for them, but not everybody. It's fine. You need to take care of people too. Can't have just people dying for nothing. But strictly one size fits all, swipe your card, no accountability, and nobody tries to do a good job because there's no reason to do it because doctors will be in business no matter what anyways. I'm not a fan of that. And then it becomes top heavy, no accountability. They're always losing money. They're always asking for more money. They're always complaining for one reason or another, that this, that, and the other. There's a lot of corruption. You build a hospital, it doesn't get built to the right size. The parking lot's not big enough. Everything's a debacle. Nothing works well and right. So I don't understand it. So this is just one small example, big example to this particular family, though. Losing their father and husband, not cool. Again, it's policies, it's the decision making, it's why we make the decisions we do, and things like that. It's give your head a shake, you know. It looks like we're almost out of time, so we'll have to wrap this up, and I'll have to go back and read all your comments because I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody was saying about this particular story. So thanks for sharing. The website said he was clawing his way back to health. He was gaining strength day by day. His kidney specialist was impressed by his progress enough to prepare him for home dialysis, but then he had a stroke, and the stroke caused his death. So he leaves behind his wife and 5 children, and many, many good things people had to say about his character that knew him as a small business owner in Sudbury, and nothing but good things to say about him. Man of integrity. He had a good sense of humor. He was an advocate for the causes he believed in, and one was not taking an experimental drug as a solution to a problem that wasn't really a problem, but was said to be a problem by many, many people. And because of that, his beliefs, unfortunately, yeah, I guess a lot of people say, well, he didn't get it, so it's good on him. You know, and that's the way I hear some people saying things like that, and it's unfortunate, you know. Well, serves him right. He should have got it. And there might even be some comments like that. I have no idea. But that's what I've been hearing a lot on social media during the whole last 3 years. And it's just not cool. Yeah. I think the right side of history, you got to stand up for things that, you know, you just don't go with the masses all the time. You have to kind of question things of what's going on. But unfortunate, the incident here, how all this transpired. And I said at the beginning of the pandemic, I said, there's going to be more casualties by the way we're handling this than the problem itself. How many surgeries and people were delayed and things died from that? How many people got addicted to drugs, dealing with the anxiety and things caused by the pandemic that later died? What's the death toll caused by the way we handled it rather than the death toll of the problem itself? One day we will have those statistics, and will we be on the right side of history or not with that, right? But a lot of people got rich. I'm not sure who they were. You'll have to look into that yourself. Just wondering, did anyone get rich off the solution that we had? Did anyone else get more powerful because of it? We just won't know, I guess, unless we ask the question and want to know the answer. Thanks for being with us today, everyone. It was a great show. Again, so many things to talk about, not enough time. Maybe we'll have a 24/7 version someday when I can afford to do it. So hopefully you have a great weekend. We'll see you, God willing, same time, same place Monday. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and God bless. Make sure to share. Take care. See you on Monday. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.